Welcome back to the master class. We've learned how to make molecules fly, how to race them, and how to trap them. But let's talk about a reality that ruins many promising careers: chemical noise. You've prepared your sample perfectly, but when you look at the detector, it's a mess. Find a white cat in a blinding snowstorm? That is your trace analyte buried under solvent clusters and background ions. Most people just turn up the gain. A pro cleans the room first. Welcome to FAIMS, Field Asymmetric Ion Mobility Spectrometry. Actually, the difference between an operator and a strategist is knowing that more signal isn't always better. You want pure signal. Think of FAIMS as your molecular noise-canceling headphone. It doesn't just amplify the music. It identifies the specific frequency of the background noise and cancels it out. Today, we are going to learn how to scrub the garbage away at atmospheric pressure before it even touches your mass analyzer. It's the ultimate security guard for your data clarity. Our briefing today covers 4 strategic sectors. Sector A, the secret of asymmetry, why mobility isn't a fixed number. Sector B, the high-speed swing, mastering the asymmetric waveform and dispersion voltage. Sector C, the tuning dial, using compensation voltage to let your signal breathe. And finally, Sector D, strategic cleaning, the real-world ROI, where we turn invisible peaks into publication-ready data. Let's start with the physics of the nudge. In our earlier units, we assumed ion mobility was a linear constant. But here is the specialist's insight. Molecules behave differently when you push them hard versus when you nudge them. At standard low fields, mobility is linear. But when we crank the field up to 10,000 volts per centimeter, the rules change. The terminal velocity is no longer strictly proportional. FAIMS exploits this high field quirk to distinguish ions that look identical in the low field world. To use this asymmetry, we apply an asymmetric waveform to electrodes spaced only about 2 millimeters apart. We swing the voltage rapidly between a high power push and a low power pull. Imagine a bird flying in a wind tunnel, where the wind changes direction every millisecond. If the bird's push mobility matches its pull mobility, it stays centered. But because of high field quirks, most ions drift and hit the wall. This is the dispersion voltage dV, the force of the chaos. Think of that bird again. If it can't adjust its flight path, the wind will slam it into the wall. Every type of molecule has a specific drift caused by the asymmetric field. Most ions, your solvent clusters, your chemical noise, are slammed into the electrodes and neutralized. They are deleted from the timeline before they ever reach the mass spec. But what about your target? How do we save the bird we actually care about? We need to tune the offset. This is where you become a specialist. We add a constant DC voltage called the compensation voltage, or CV. It is the offset that corrects the drift for a specific ion. By scanning the CV, we act as a molecular shutter. Only ions with the precise asymmetric stride that matches your CV settings survive. Mentor's tip: finding the right CV isn't just an experiment. It's a strategic choice to let your signal breathe while the noise is silenced forever. Let's look at the ROI from your reference materials. Imagine analyzing linoleic acid. Without FAIMS, background interference gives you poor signal-to-noise. By placing a FAIMS device before the analyzer and setting the correct CV, we exclude all background ions. The result? A 100-fold improvement in detection limit. You've made the invisible visible simply by removing the fog of the matrix. This is strategic data purification at its finest. In proteomics, FAIMS is a game-changer. Because it's orthogonal to both LC and MS, it can pull out low-abundance peptides that are usually shouted down by major proteins. Actually, you can use FAIMS to select specifically for +2 or +3 charge states, optimizing your tandem MS fragmentation. You aren't just filtering noise, you are architecting the most productive ions for your identification workflow. You're cleaning the room before taking the picture. Have you ever seen a mass spectrum so messy it looked like a barcode? Most technicians blame the column or the source. A specialist knows that's just a lack of a filter. With a cylindrical FAIMS device, or FAIMS on a chip, you can scrub away those barcode lines in milliseconds. You move from the brute force of trying to detect everything to the strategic mastery of detecting only what matters. You silence the roar to hear the whisper. Summary: the shutter is now closed to noise. We've mastered the logic of high field asymmetry, the balance of dV and CV, and the 100-fold ROI of chemical noise suppression. Remember the specialist's mantra: don't just detect everything, detect what matters. Silence the noise to hear the truth. You are no longer at the mercy of your matrix. You are the architect of your analytical clarity. Your detector is now a protected space. You've mastered the filters inside the instrument. But what if your sample isn't in a vial? What if it's floating in the air, outside? Join me in our next unit, Module 4 to 10, Ambient Precision, where we navigate the Differential Mobility Analyzer, DMA, to analyze nanoparticles and aerosols in real time. We're taking these filters into the open air. I'll see you at the next starting line. Any questions on scrubbing barcode noise before we go outdoors?